Welcome to the Branded Assets Podcast, your place for hot takes on business, brands, and billion-dollar gossip. I'm your host, Kate Bouchard. Thanks for being here. Welcome to today's Rich Girl Rundown episode, where my co-host Ada and I are breaking down the latest in business, brand deals, and billion-dollar gossip. Today, we're talking about Sephora taking pole position with F1, the $10 billion rise of Quince, and is Nike trolling the Manosphere?
That's my favorite one.
So it's going to be a really good gossipy episode today. And thanks for being here. It's so gorgeous outside.
It's been awesome. Yeah. Finally, some sunshine.
Much
you
needed.
realize how much it affects your mood, right?
Totally. There's so many people out because as soon as it's sunny in Vancouver, it's we all just need that vitamin D, and the streets are busy, traffic is jammed. It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, it's like the joke of this is why we pay what we do to live here.
Yeah. And you get so depressed in the winter months, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh yeah, this is why.
Yeah.
This is why it's worth it. So what's going on? I know that we're both prepping for the Looking Glass Gala in a couple of weeks. Ad and I are on the event planning committee. It's my third year, and you're second, right?
Yep. Yeah. You brought me on. Yeah. A couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So Looking Glass BC is a foundation that supports people who are struggling with eating disorders. And there's a Reflections Gala in a couple of weeks. Have you chosen your outfit yet?
Oh, yeah. I have a beautiful white dress. Ordered it online from Poshmark, which is
oh, nice.
I'm such a second.
Oh, yeah. You're so good at that. I don't have the patience.
Yeah. Theme is black and white. You made this beautiful mood board for inspiring everyone's outfit, which I feel like every gala should have. Because it just makes it so simple, and I'm excited to see everyone all decked out. But last year we raised $500,000 for the cause,
and just over. Yeah,
I think there's the reason it's important. I think for both of us is it's not just women who are affected by eating disorders. It can be men, older people, younger people, and so it's maybe the stereotype is young girls, and certainly a group that suffers. Yeah. I think what the foundation has done a great job of doing is just spreading the awareness of how many people are actually affected by disordered eating, and they do so much to help. Yeah, looking forward to breaking that fundraising goal this year.
Yeah, me too. It's a new location, and I loved putting together that mood board for the outfits because the location is kind of older elegance, bold and detailed plaster work at the hotel, and it feels like very Beauty of the Beast kind of vibes. And so the mood board is reflecting of that and the event decor. So it's gonna be really great. I have a dress that I'm wearing I bought two last year. I'm wearing the other one this year. It's a black full length. But we also have a partnership, both the Looking Glass Reflections Gala and Branded Assets have a partnership with the Fitzroy based out of Toronto. So the Fitzroy is a dress and special occasion rental company. So I'm really excited about their support for the gala, but then also offering Branded Assets listeners a discount. I was going through the website last night looking for an outfit for my friend's 40th birthday party, which is going to be coming up. I'm so super excited about that. If you haven't checked out our highlight reel on Instagram, go there, and we actually have a discount code for, I think it's 15% off for your next occasion that you need to dress up for.
Well, and the thing I love about that is, again, it's such a sustainable choice. Right?
Yes, yeah.
Because you're renting and you're not buying something that you only wear once.
I rented from them for the first year of the gala, and it was a super cool floor length,
bright
floral, all sequin. Thank you. Yeah, it's such a good experience. So I'm excited to have them on board. Okay, should we get into the rundown and talk about our stories today?
Let's go.
I am obsessed with Formula One. And Toto and Susie Wolff in particular. You know this. I've shared some of my session with you. But the news out of Sephora and F1 is that last month, the F1 Academy announced an official partnership, which actually names Sephora as an official partner of the series. So you're new to F1. You weren't a huge fan.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I don't really watch it.
Yeah.
I like all of the kind of style and buzz and celebrity around it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actually watching the races, sometimes it's on in my house.
Those who aren't familiar, and I was sharing with you with F1 Academy, it's an all-female Formula 4 level racing championship founded to develop specifically young female drivers. And so Susie Wolff, who I mentioned, she's managing director of the F1 Academy, and Sephora and F1 Academy made this press release, and she's quoted in the release, I'm going to read it, saying, "This partnership goes far beyond beauty. Together, we are challenging outdated stereotypes and redefining who and what belongs in motorsport." So I first learned of Susie Theroux and actually became a fan of F1 through the Netflix show called Drive to Survive. F1 has always been super popular worldwide, but this show has literally taken pop culture by storm. I think they're on their 7th or 8th season now. It's so good. There's tons of drama for people like me who like I'm not necessarily into cars, like the motor, like the engines and the stats and the all of that
Yeah.
about cars, but I love the drama, especially from like a business perspective, from the drivers really pushing themselves and achieving and the learning and the teamwork and the leadership that happens behind the scenes. It's really inspiring actually, like even if you're not necessarily into cars or motorsports. And it's made the drivers and these teams now household names. So like Lewis Hamilton, you may be aware of, you might recognize that. He's actually now dating a Kardashian. There's Max Verstappen. Kimi Antonelli is a very young Italian driver who's new to Mercedes the last couple of years. George Russell, like they live in Monaco. They're on yachts. They, like just travel the world every couple of weeks and have these amazing lives and very high pressure environments. So Susie's husband, I just have to go on a bit of an offshoot outside of the Sephora announcement. His name's Toto Wolff. He's principal of the F1 Mercedes team, as well as the largest shareholder of Mercedes. He's a former race car driver, and so is Susie. So they're both drivers. And he is also the richest team principal in F1. I have an enormous crush on him, but because of her, it's bigger. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love them as a couple.
Yeah.
They just are really inspiring to me. Their combined net worth is estimated at $2.7 billion. And by all appearances, they're still in love, and they have this relationship built on like adoration and mutual respect.
Okay, so by all appearances, I feel like you never know. You never know what's going on.
That's why I said by all appearances.
I know.
But they carry themselves with so much like humor and class, in my opinion. Anyway, the Netflix show has had a huge impact. And the reason that I share all that is that women now make up approximately 40% of total Formula One fan base. And this is driven significantly by that Netflix effect, right? Having a younger growing audience. But what I thought was really interesting about this, I was doing research, is that in the younger generation, Gen Z particularly, female fans now represent 75%, 3 out of 4 new fans of Formula One. So as they're like the generations are coming up, there's actually a larger female fan base for
It's interesting to me because like we've talked about what are women aspiring to, how are gender norms changing and shifting. And I think the most interesting thing for me from the Sephora brand perspective is I see it as like future proofing the brand. So before there's this big target, and we've talked about it on the show, as gender norms are shifting, we're seeing like the provider girlfriend is a term that I'm seeing.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
And so basically what it is a girlfriend who's out earning her partner.
Yeah.
And so that's changing, that's shifting. And so women are stepping into not only in the workplace positions of power, but in, behind the wheel of a Formula One car is such a position of power.
Totally.
You have this engine, you have this, drive. So that I think is a very smart strategic brand positioning move. And also when I was talking about this with my partner, he said, it's not only about women, which is like where we naturally go. He said, what about the men that are watching this and are seeing the Sephora brand?
Yes.
And are now feeling like, oh, maybe Sephora is a place that I should go for my skincare. So I thought that was such an interesting take as well, because it's in front of this audience. Yes, 40% women, but also 60% men who may have a different perception of Sephora, where it's like a female brand more for young women, but it's kind of almost taking the tack of like Lululemon, how it was a brand for women and especially like young women doing yoga. The yoga pants were what brought it to fame, and now so many men shop there. So
that's a really good comparison. And yeah, that's interesting. Like the brands that have broken in from a female perspective and then started to attract more male audience and offer products to that market. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, because where else do you grow? Like you kind of own the female market. So I think growing in that direction while truly still positioning it as like supporting strong women, I think it's spot on. And that image of like this striped black and white race car with the Sephora logo on it, that's, something that's burned in my mind, which is very cool.
It's just a super strategic move. And it really caught my attention because I hadn't seen like another beauty brand get into motorsports in that way. And I think it really is an alignment from what the F1 Academy, but also F1 overall is doing. And for Sephora to see that is really smart. So summarizing our rich girl POV on this is a move to me, and it sounds like to you, that feels bigger than beauty, right? Like this isn't just sponsorship, it's a strategy for long-term growth. Sephora has read the room. They understand the younger generation women, what they're paying attention to, what's up and coming. And then to your point, possibly making Sephora a brand that more of the male audience becomes aware of. And, this could really signal a shift in how brands think about where female audiences are found and getting in earlier, and also how they tap into cultural relevance, because as a result of, I think it's really fair to say, as a result of the Netflix show, this has become such a bigger
Mhm.
thing for female audiences worldwide.
I love it.
Our second headline is actually related to another Netflix show. Ada, why don't you take us through it?
Yeah. So you've seen the Manosphere. Yeah, it's kind of like hate watching it at some point. But the cool move that we've seen from Nike and JD Sports is they've brought in Louis Theroux, who's the host of Manosphere, if you've seen it. And he is kind of the spokesman in an ad for the Air Max 95 OG Neon, which like
Hmm.
I'm not a sneakerhead at all, but you know, when you see the coverage around it and the hype around it and the excitement, from people who are. It's kind of one of the pinnacles of Air Max 95 lineage,
Yeah.
according to kind of popular coverage. And so they've tapped Louis Theroux to promote the shoes and also two exclusive tracksuits in an ad. You think about shoes, you think about sneakers, especially. There's kind of this like alpha male stereotype of like who would traditionally be the audience for
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
And by tapping a man, you know, pokes fun at the manosphere and, you know, more than that kind of like uncovers the dangerous elements. Again, it's like an example of future proofing a brand and pinning your wagon to someone who really is like changing the culture and the conversation
Hmm.
around gender and gender norms. And the interesting thing is this ad actually came out before the Manosphere doc. So it dropped on March 5th and the doc came out March 11th. So definitely a gutsy move because now watching the documentary, we know, you know, how he was perceived and how it came across, but you never really know what the cultural reaction is going to be. So
Hmm.
I feel like they took a gamble. It's a cool ad. Like he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
And I think it's just again like a brand mark of what they want to pin their brand to
Hmm.
and what they want to stand for. But yeah, very, very cool positioning. And the agency behind the brand, the creative agency is called Ear to the Ground.
Oh,
Like
cool.
what a great
Yeah.
name for a brand and ad agency.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I didn't realize that Nike had brought him on for these ads, and partnered with him on this prior to Manosphere
Yeah.
coming out. I didn't realize that because I became aware of it after I watched
Hmm.
Manosphere,
Hmm.
and just like all the culture and the discussion around that documentary. You know, in the documentary, the subjects that he was speaking to really like overtly tried to make him look non-masculine, right? Like they were poking fun at his physicality and that he wasn't, built,
Yeah.
and he's older and his hair and his
I remember at
style.
one point they were like, "Are you checking out my?" He was like, "Are you
Yeah,
checking
yeah,
out
you're
my
checking out my
biceps?"
muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
biceps. And I wonder if Nike saw the documentary, the final cut of the documentary before it was released. That'd be really interesting to know. Like he's a journalist. He's well known. Was there anything else he was doing that was in popular culture like right before that? I don't think so. It's been a little while since he released something, right?
I mean, I think it makes sense that it would have been kind of
Associated
pinned
with,
with the Manosphere
yeah,
that, you know, I'm sure in the conversations behind the scenes, he talked about what he was working on. There was some teasing of episodes and content and
right.
some idea of what it was going to be before it came out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would guess probably they saw it before the ad came out
yeah,
or at least had, you know, enough of an idea of what
yeah.
it was to be able to make that strategic decision. But I think the other kind of layer here is the men that he's interviewing on the Manosphere show, they talk about how they're alpha and how they're masculine. You know, my take is kind of like if you have to define yourself like that, you're
Mhm.
probably not.
Mm.
Um, and then Louis Theroux, like he does not position himself that way. He's very understated, but he really comes across as the hero. And you know, not just being a journalist and kind of like behind the scenes, but really he's become a bit of a cultural pillar of fighting against that kind of gross
Yeah,
masculine energy.
I agree. Well, and it's just like, if you haven't seen the documentary, I highly suggest that you do. And I think a lot of this will resonate with you once you've seen it. But the way that he operates is really interesting because in the show, he actually just lets people kind of speak for themselves. Like he'll ask a question and he allows them to show their true nature, and he'll probe a little bit and challenge a little bit, but he lets the people that he's interviewing, and especially in the show, make themselves look bad. And he sort of just lets that happen through silence. He doesn't say a lot in the show. I don't even know the names of these guys. Okay. Like I heard their names when I was watching the show, but they've not stuck with me. And so,
Yeah.
and you know what? I don't want them to, but there's one guy who's huge in the manosphere who had a girlfriend, and she appeared in the documentary. And Louis like asked her a couple of questions
Mhm.
about, are you okay with this? I think it was like one-sided monogamy, or are you
Mhm.
okay with being treated this way? And actually, since the documentary, she's left that guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at you
And
following all the gossip.
she's spoken, well, just kind of, my algorithm is very, very intelligent, kind of just comes up for me. But so, and she even credited Louis just like
Mm.
asking the question
Right.
with her realizing and like watching her boyfriend's reactions and responses. So anyway, like the idea around masculinity and how you define it, and toxic versus healthy, there's so many different types of masculinity, and Nike choosing to work with Louis on this, I just think highlights a different type that sure these guys in the manosphere have made fun of, but who many of us, appreciate, the strong, intelligent, quietly confident type of
Mhm.
masculinity versus this like in your face, exerting alphaness, which is just like such a gross word anyway. But what I love so much about Nike in this is that they're not just participating in this culture, like they're playing with it, right? And most brands can't afford to, and also to your point of taking that risk, especially knowing now that
Yeah.
they were working on this beforehand. They're definitely just like Sephora, they're buying into attention mechanics, right? Louis doesn't present in the stereotypically alpha way, but what's more powerful than like calling out what you see as wrong in this world, right? And using your intellect to do it.
Well, and letting people, I think that like listening is such an underrated skill now.
Yes, yeah.
And what he was able to do in the doc that we saw was, yeah, to your point, make people make themselves look like fools just by letting them talk,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And opening up that space and offering that space. So I think, to your point, more men could learn to do that and
yeah.
could learn from that.
Yeah. No, totally. More of this, please. More of this type of masculinity, and brands highlighting that. And like the other thing got me thinking about was, there's so many influencers and so many people with huge followings and platforms who are, especially in this case, like in it just to make money and take advantage of people who have something that's missing in themselves and missing in their own life, and who are looking for more. Like, let's make less of those people famous, and let's make more intellectual thinkers famous and journalists
I mean, I
famous
feel like
like
that's
him.
been the struggle since the beginning of time. And will we win that one? Maybe.
Okay, so really quick, just like your rich girl, like POV from a high level on this
Yeah.
story.
I mean, from the brand and marketing side, for me, this is a timing story and a future proofing brand story for Nike. They really got it right. They got the association right. They had an idea of how this would be received in culture. So it's so cool from that perspective. And I think the best brand campaigns pick up different elements of popular culture and not only get that timing right, but get that synergy. And we've talked about this in like a lot of different kind of brand campaigns, and they've got the synergy
Yeah.
right. So this is such a win in my book.
Okay, now we're going to talk about Quince, because they have now officially built a over $10 billion brand, with them receiving 500 million in funding. That's pushes valuations to that levels. If you haven't heard of Quince, I actually like, they're fairly new to me. I think it was 3 months ago or something that
Well, I
I
think they just launched in Canada not long.
so that might be what it was like
Yeah.
timed with. But actually, they were founded in 2018 in San Francisco. They are a clothing accessories brand that focus on quiet luxury and mimicking or duping higher end brands for
Mm.
a lot less. They're actually doing this through a efficient manufacturer to consumer model. So like M2C instead of B2C, where they've been able to offer these high quality goods at mass market prices by eliminating inefficiencies in the manufacturing process. So the founders talk a lot about that, and that being the reason that they're able to offer, a cashmere sweater for $70 instead of like the $250 or $300 one that we see from higher end, more like luxury brands. But they've had this like astronomical, valuation and rise, but it's pissed some people off. They're currently being sued by both Coach and UGG for trade dress infringement, and most recently by Williams Sonoma for false advertising, deceptive marketing, and inflator competitor pricing. And a part of the Williams Sonoma suit is based on the fact that they'll show like prices for comparable products on their website. And the people that they're pissed off have saying that like that's not the actual pricing, or you're inflating that pricing, and so it's deceptive marketing essentially, because we offer that for
Yeah.
cheaper than you're showing. They also settled with Yeti on a previous
Yeah.
lawsuit. Yeah, which I found fascinating. Trade dress cases or infringements are actually really notoriously difficult to win. Like Coach and UGG have a challenge up ahead in proving that Quince has directly ripped off their
I mean,
designs.
the interesting thing is like with the Yeti win, there seems to be a bit of a precedent for, they've already admitted some wrongdoing. They've
Hmm.
already settled. Does that set a precedent for the rest of it?
I'm not sure when it's a settlement versus a win. I'm not really sure how that works. That'd be interesting to talk to a lawyer about. But yeah, they're pissing people off because of how quickly they're growing, and the prices are so different than what other brands and manufacturers have offered. I think from a marketing perspective, they are offering these luxury quality materials, these very classic kind of designs, different playbook when it comes to pricing and model, but they're borrowing from the luxury marketing playbook because they're relying on things that the luxury market typically has, like exclusive availability, limited drops. They produce in smaller batches so that they can sell out quickly and create that like sense of scarcity or urgency,
Hmm.
especially for Gen Z, where like the fear of missing out on some of these offerings is really a motivator. Plus, as we talked about before, just like the way that the economy is right now and the challenges with like younger generations coming up, having trouble in the job market out of college, university, consumers are like increasingly price and value conscious, right? And so Quince is like really fitting the bill from multiple perspectives here.
Yeah. I mean, I think looking at the website, I know you keep saying like luxury, quiet luxury. It
Mm,
doesn't feel like luxury
mm,
to me when I browse on the site. It feels
mm-hmm,
like very templated. There's nothing that's like super different from like a Zara, H&M kind of copying other fashion brands, right?
mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
on kind of first blush. And I think the piece that's missing, and it's like this tangible element of human touch and human connection in it. It feels very flat.
From a branding, like the website from a branding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's like the luxury side of things is more like in the physical product. And it's almost like the branding is pared down and pared back. Whereas, we've been talking about on the podcast, like how luxury brands are really doing a lot more from like a creative and artistic perspective
Mhm.
in their brand, right? And like the analog and going, and Quince doesn't do that from like a shopping experience perspective. It does feel very like clean and minimalistic.
Yep.
And I think it's like for high quality luxury product that looks like luxury product, but for people who don't care about the brand is kind of the feeling that I think that they're getting across.
Yeah, I mean, the valuation, says that it's working.
Mhm.
Whatever they're doing is working. There's other ways to get a cashmere sweater. Like you could shop at secondhand.
Yeah.
And, there's
Yeah.
there's so many other ways to do it, but certainly they found a place in the market. You said you bought jeans off of there.
I love the jeans that I
Yeah.
bought from them. Yeah, they fit
Um,
really beautifully. They're $60. It's this really interesting intersection of they are like fast fashion, essentially.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they say they're not because it's manufactured small batches. They're not like a lot of the media coverage around it has been focused on they're not producing at a mass scale and therefore
Mhm.
they're not destroying or like heavily discounting products that don't sell, which is
Mhm.
one of the biggest kind of issues that people take
Environmental,
with fast
yeah,
fashion.
sustainability stuff.
But is this needed? Is this like, for not to necessarily defend some of the other big brands, but if Coach is paying designers to come up with product and
Mhm.
then it's being ripped off,
Oh, yeah.
I have just like a moral issue with
Mm.
that.
That's a tale as old as time. Like you walk
Ugh,
around the
yeah.
streets in Paris and there's like Louis Vuitton knockoffs
Mhm.
all over the place, right? Or like Italy or whatever. They have all these people have been ripping off luxury, but no one's made it as well. And these aren't like they're not like logoed pieces, right? But Quince isn't they're not building a brand that anyone's gonna like walk around with a bag that says Quince on it
Well,
with
and I
like the
think
pride
that's
that they do for you would for like a luxury piece,
yeah.
right?
And I mean, maybe that's part of the question mark when it comes
Yeah.
to like the long-term brand sustainability
Yeah.
because okay, they've built the manufacturer direct to consumer model, but
Yeah.
how difficult is that to copy, right? Why could this not be created by someone else?
And when you look at, like, some of the really cheap fast fashion brands, like is it like Sheins and all of those, like, those come direct from the manufacturer in China, direct to like, they're shipped from China
Yeah.
factories to individuals. So it's almost like this amalgamation of these different strategies into one. And so, yeah, I think they're obviously, like, on a high right now. It'll be
Hmm.
interesting to see what they do next. I can't imagine walking around like a high-end Quince handbag and feeling like that, some kind of status
Yeah.
symbol
Yeah.
like others are. So summing all this up, our rich girl POV on this, I think that Quince is what happens when consumers want luxury feeling pieces, but don't really care about the brand name and don't really want to pay for that brand name anymore. They basically like stripped out the traditional markups, like manufactured consumer, kind of like some fast fashion brands and manufacturers have. They're delivering these products that look and feel like luxury, but without that price tag and without that brand association, to your point. But they're still using some of the playbook from luxury marketing in regards to like limited drops and scarcity and trying to create that sense that if you don't get it now, you might miss it. So again, you have this hybrid model. The psychology is like luxe quality without the brand. Clearly it's working. But we'll see what happens
Yeah.
for them next.
Well, they're making enough money to settle all the suits.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch those as they come up through the courts, and if they end up settling on anything, or if they create that precedent where people are going to come after them
For
for
everything.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd love to hear kind of what's on your radar right now, whether it's like businesses or brands or any gossip or just kind of like general things that you're seeing out there in the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's truly been like watching the ups and downs of the market.
Mhm.
We know it's tied heavily to the price of oil, the conflict that we know is going on in Iran. Oil could hit $150 US a barrel, predicting in the next couple of weeks if things don't change. And we're seeing it not only in gas prices, but throughout the entire economy. And it's definitely scary for investors. Like you're watching most of your stocks in the red. It's not a good feeling. I
Mhm.
know I was talking to my dad the other day and he's just about set to retire. And I was like, Dad, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
And he's like, some days okay. And some days I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for this.
Mhm.
So it's a scary kind of example of how much power is concentrated into the hands of so few, and we're seeing the effects in like very tangible ways throughout like our lives. And Canada's not part of this conflict, but we're definitely affected.
Yeah.
You look at any price of anything right
Mhm.
now, and also mortgage rates tied to that. So
Yes.
fixed rates are starting to go up. And mortgage delinquencies. There's more 90-day delinquent mortgages now in Canada than there ever
Is
were.
there? I haven't seen that.
So, yeah, watching that very, very closely.
Mhm.
I'm also taking part in the Globe and Mail trade-off.
What's that?
That you can, it's so fun. I think it might be too late for you to sign up,
Okay, tell me though.
but basically, you have $100,000 kind of fake money to start with,
Yeah.
and you build your portfolio on the Globe and Mail website, and you can actually compete against different people. So my partner and I are doing it, and I'm winning, and I have been consistently winning.
How fun.
Which is, I'm going to brag about it until we'll see what happens. But for
Yeah.
now, I'm bragging about it. It's been about a week, and I'm $1,000 ahead. But yeah, it's just a great way to kind of play with the market. Maybe we're not wanting to do it with our actual investments. There's an element of risk, and you're like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Of
don't know
course.
if this hypothesis will pan out. But you can actually see how you're stacking up against some of the professional investors. So they
Mhm.
have the Globe and Mail financial columnists and like financial investors that they talk to. And for a while, I was beating them as well. So again, it's a long-term strategy. I think it's 3 months that we have to kind of build this, and you can trade kind of every day if you want, or you can set and forget it. And there is $1,000 prize at the end
Oh,
of it.
cool.
So there is real money at stake for kind of different categories that you can win. So yeah, watching that in conjunction with the real markets.
Mhm.
And we've talked before about the kind of gamification that's
Yeah.
happening for investing. And we know like, the Polymarket we've talked about, they've banned Polymarket in Ontario.
You were telling me that.
So, we talked about the potential for government crackdowns on this
Mhm.
and some regulation. It looks like that's starting to happen. It's still pretty easy to get around, but there's starting to be some movement and changes. But at the same time, Wealthsimple has just been approved for kind of more of like a gambling type application where you're betting on a specific outcome. And they haven't done anything with it yet.
Getting into prediction market?
They haven't announced
Ah.
any kind of product, but they have been approved to roll it out. So all of these things are happening
Can I
at
just say
once.
I love that we've talked about all of these things, and then we're seeing like the trends being taken on by like like the
Mm,
companies like Wealthsimple and some of these changes
yeah.
happening. Like it feels just so timely. So this is what I love about these episodes with you is like being able to look at the trends, talk about what's happening, and then as we're filming more and more, and recording more, like seeing those changes, whether the things we talked about are
Oh yeah.
progressing or not. That's so cool. I wish that I knew about the Globe and Mail. What's it called again? Globe and Mail
Trade-off.
trade-off. Oh, I wish I knew about that. Did they do it? Is it the first time doing it? Do you know?
The first time I've been aware of it, but it kind of levels the playing field, which is
Mhm.
so cool. Like
Mhm.
if you think about if you're a first time investor, younger investor, maybe you don't start with $100,000.
No.
And if everyone is starting at the same place, where do you end up?
Right.
And so it's a great tool to help build confidence. And the fact that it's public, you can actually study people's portfolios. So you can look and see what people are invested in.
Can
It's
anyone do that, or do you have to be a part of it to see it?
I'm
Like,
pretty
can
sure
anyone look
anyone
at
can do it.
okay, I wanna go spend some time on that. What I wonder if the Globe and Mail is gonna release any research on results, because 'cause I'd be super fascinated to know women versus men
Hmm.
and the differences in how they're investing and their returns,
Hmm.
based on, like, their risk tolerance and what they chose looking at their risk
Oh,
tolerance
I'm sure
too,
they will.
looking at different age groups and, like,
Yeah.
demographics. Oh my gosh, super fascinating. Okay, I'm gonna, like, go away and look that up as soon as we're done.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I use my Wealthsimple and purchased some things are low right now, so, like, if you're gonna purchase, it might be,
It
like, a
is
good time to
they say the
consider.
right time,
You
yeah,
know, they say
but
when the markets are low, that's when money is
it's a
made, so
scary,
it
scary
is.
feeling.
Yeah, it is. And I've been watching my accounts a little bit more closely too, but I do feel for people who I mean, I feel for all of us, it's challenging right now for, I think, many in the world, but if you are coming up in retirement or retiring right now and having to make those withdrawals, that's terrifying actually, and hopefully things start to settle soon, but we'll see. Okay, for me, mine is on a smaller scale, but in the last week, I have had 3 companies in my feed, in my email, talk about founding members, creating founding members. Have you heard this used before in a marketing perspective? I don't know if I've just become more aware of it because of this last week,
Yeah.
but I got 3 emails from new local brands
Mhm.
promoting becoming a founding member. It was a wellness club,
Yep.
a supplement brand, and then also a skincare line. So the wellness club, it seems to me like it's some kind of they're opening soon, and it
Mhm.
seems like it's a prepaid membership for a
Mhm.
certain amount of time, I think, at a discounted rate with perks. Another had paid package. So, okay, become one of our founding members, spend, let's say, $500 with us. You'll get this package, and then you'll always get a discounted rate on products
Mhm.
moving forward and like special events and communications. And then the third was similar, but it was just, there wasn't an upfront purchase. It was just become one of our early community members and you get a discount. And it was a pretty hefty discount for a long period of time on their product. I hadn't seen it to this extent before. And for me, the language I find like a bit confusing when I think about founder
Mhm.
or founding member. I think about like shareholder or founding team, but the psychology behind it seems to be working. Like I know having community feel like they're a part of something as you launch, giving them privileges and benefits for being a part of your community early on, like there's definite power in that. And I think we're more likely
Yeah.
to share and spread and tell people. But have you were nodding, you've seen this before.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost similar to like the customer ambassador programs.
Mm,
I think the language makes sense in the sense that if someone's prepaying for a subscription or putting in some kind of investment
yeah.
up front, that can be what is the difference between this company actually getting off the ground and starting or not.
Yeah.
So it almost runs parallel to fundraising in some ways, where you get the money up front that then gives you a bit of runway to launch the business and start.
Mm,
So I think that makes sense. And to your point, there's that pride
yeah.
in if you're a founding member of something, you're going to talk about it, you're going to want it to
Mhm.
succeed. So I think that language plays into that psychology.
Mhm.
Like if you're a founding member of a wellness club, you want it to stick around because there's that
Right.
pride almost in like a sense of ownership, without
Without the
uh,
ownership.
the ownership there.
Yeah.
Um,
It's it reminds me though of like pre-orders or Kickstarters. Like when we launched Lobo, we did pre-orders
yeah.
and we opened it up and we sent them custom branded tea while they were waiting for their product to arrive
Mhm.
and communicated with them on a regular basis. Kickstarter things, like I know a few local companies who've really like done $1 million in Kickstarters for their
Mhm.
products and have made people feel like a part of them getting off the ground. But it seems to me like it's a newer trend in this language, like the founding language. It's funny to me that I've just seen so much of it in the last
But
like
I think
week.
the other thing is it feels like a much more luxury language.
Yes.
When you look at, founding members of country clubs and
Right.
that type of thing, you're not seeing it in kind of like the mass market H&Ms. Like you're not going to be a founding
Mhm.
member of something at H&M.
Mhm.
You're maybe going to be a founding member at a country club or a wellness club or
Yeah.
something. And so part of it could be how your personal consumer patterns are shifting,
Mm.
and that kind of alignment with those brands and
Mhm.
that language.
Mhm. And I wonder if the scale of the brand, these smaller, more community-based, because these are all 3 are quite local with aspirations of being, internationally recognized brands, but just that sense of community and sort of starting small and creating the early adopters and, like,
Mhm.
that wave,
Well, and it's
to
also
then.
possible that investors want to see a certain number of founding members or, initial
Yeah.
signups, initial member revenue to justify their investment.
Mhm.
Um,
That'll be interesting to see if this, like, trend in language for early customer base continues, or if we see it in other places now that we talked about it. Okay, well, thanks so much, Ada. That's a wrap on today's Rich Girl Rundown episode of Branded Assets. If you haven't subscribed already, we would really love for you to join us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, and follow us on Instagram at Branded Assets. It's been so much fun. We're really enjoying doing these episodes and the podcast overall, getting a ton of really positive feedback every time we post. So thanks so much for doing this with me, and we hope to chat with you all soon.
See you next time.
Bye. That's a wrap on today's episode of Branded Assets. Power looks better when women are in the room, so thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, follow the show, share it with a friend, and join us on Instagram at Branded Assets. We're just getting started. I'm Kate Bouchard. See you next time.